Now, iCommunicate continues on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN. Once again, here's your host, Mark Altman. With your host, Mark Altman, on Full Service Radio, AM 830.
Welcome back to iCommunicate, Finding Your Voice. I'm here with Brittany Larrabee, health and well-being consultant, yoga instructor, and owner of Conscious Woman, Conscious World. And Brittany, I got to tell you, when I first read that in part of your bio, I was like, wow, that's fascinating. Tell us what that is all about.
Yeah, so Conscious Woman, Conscious World is all about aligning your values with your purchasing habits. So the concept is that if I'm surrounded by all sorts of things, right? I invite stuff into my life. I invite people, I invite clothes, I invite products, whatever it may be. And that each of those items, I can actually use my dollars to vote. I can use my dollars to not just buy this awesome shirt on sale for $10, but what if I could, for $15 or whatever it may be, I can also empower women in a developing country. I can support a more environmentally friendly business model in practice, so that I can do a lot with my dollars. But Conscious Woman, Conscious World is meant to be a hub of information, a one-stop shop resource for women to go to and find.
So this is social activism.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Social activism. So I want to share something with you. So it's funny about this is that my daughter, who is the executive director of a nonprofit, I often joke with her that when people rally together and try to unite against causes or for causes, or as it is, I often laugh because I always say, those rallies, they're good, but then what's next? Mm-hmm. People leave and nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time that the people who go to those rallies would do things, but they don't really know how they can contribute. So when you think of Conscious Woman, Conscious World, it feels like when I heard you describe that, it's like, wait a second. So I don't have to do anything, right? I can just still have all the things I love. I can still do the things I like to do, but I can kill two birds with one stone, for no better choice of words, and help people at the same time.
Yes,
is it as simple as that?
It really is. I think of it as a win-win. I can have the things that I really want and I really need, but I can stretch my money. I can stretch the amount of joy that I'm going to get from that. It's a win-win. I can have it, but I can also do wonderful things by having that.
So let me ask you a philosophical question. Mm-hmm. I once had a woman I dated several years ago. She said this, I'll never forget this. She said to me, I don't think anybody does nice things for other people unconditionally. I think that there's an intrinsic benefit we all get from helping people. And at first when I heard it, I was like, well, that's kind of negative, kind of glass half empty. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. Instead of saying it takes away from the act, that okay. Mm-hmm. So if we're all getting an intrinsic motivator by doing good and by and for other people, wonderful. Mm-hmm. Soak it up. The more of that, the better. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about, it's funny, you said stretching your money, stretching your joy. So how do you, in this venture you have, how are you educating? So if I sign up, if I'm a listener out there and said, boy, I would love to know more about, what are you doing so people can take advantage of these kinds of things?
Yeah, so what I want it to be is this one-stop shop that's going to provide very honest, authentic, reliable information. Because some of the concerns are, companies are transparent. How do I know? Another barrier is time. So I want it to be this easy, really simple way to gather information, find resources and recommendations for what types of items, products, clothing that people want and need. And so instead of just, I think of when I started out on this path, it's a dark hole of information. You can just go on and on.
So I might be being facetious, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But if I'm a woman and I'm about to go shopping, mm-hmm. okay, online, in person, whatever, is the process the way it would work is, wait, before I go, let me just jump on to the Conscious Woman, Conscious World site, see if there's any resources available where I can do that shopping, but maybe through this venue. Is that basically?
Yeah, that's a part of it. I think the goal is maybe to get there at some point. Right now, really, I just want to
awareness.
provide a space, where people can learn, and it's focused on, the everyday woman that's working hard, trying to be an agent for change in the world, doesn't have all the time in the world, doesn't have the perfect Instagram picture of a life, and she needs affordable options. She needs affordable, easy to tackle, realistic options, and that's what I want to provide.
So, Brittany, why conscious woman? Why not? What if I'm hearing this, and as a man, I would totally be on board with something like this. So, why conscious woman?
Yeah, well, being a woman, I've always been drawn to working with other women. I find we have a lot of, not that men and women can't have similar experiences, but I've found that the way that women support each other is pretty phenomenal. And I know a lot of times that, not all the time, but women can be this huge source of change and power in families, in relationships, in jobs. And I wanted to provide a space specifically for women. Now, doesn't mean that a man couldn't go on to
Good, because I'm signing up for this. I just want you to know.
Information, absolutely. But as someone who I can relate to women more when it comes to products and items, I know what's going to work, and I feel more confident saying, hey, I tried this, here you go.
So boy, I have a lot of thoughts as you share this. So first of all, you talked about aligning values. So let me just ask you, maybe I'm stating the obvious, but when you say aligning values, is it a given these values are being philanthropic, empowerment? Like, is it the obvious values that I would think of just by the way you're describing this? Or are there other values that you think maybe I'm not capturing that would be a part of it?
Yeah, so one of the key things, actually, I haven't even mentioned, is values around being environmentally friendly. And part of the reason it's conscious is, how do our decisions impact other people and the world? So is it socially ethical? Is it environmentally friendly? We're living in such a fast-paced world where you can have everything at the click of a button at your fingertips, where it's more, and, oh, I'm really sad and I'm unhappy, let me just get this thing, retail therapy. When, if you stop and you pause, first of all, that stuff isn't really going to solve any of your problems. And two, if you consume in a more awakened state, a more conscious way, you get more joy from it. It's like, why waste your money on stuff that isn't going to really ever get you what you want, but instead pause and make choices based on things you really want and really need, while also benefiting the environment, because it's all, I know this sounds so cheesy, but it's all connected. Your choices affect tomorrow and the next day and other people. So
Brittany, I think a lot of times I see in education now and with families, there's such a focus around community, building a sense of community. And for me, especially with kids, I often think to myself, parents and teachers are pushing this, but parents don't really do a lot to model it. It's like, hey, you need to get out there and do stuff and be a part of the community, but the parents often aren't actually doing that. So it's a two-part question. Part one is this an opportunity for parents to model a certain behavior for their kids? And part two, and if we can maybe continue part two after the break, but part two is this something kids could really become involved in, whether it's girls, boys, both, to help grow this cause? So let's go with the first question for now is this a good opportunity for parents to model behavior?
I think you already know the answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. I think, as we were talking about earlier, as a parent, when you're modeling behavior, your children, whether you think it or you believe it or not, they see what you do.
Definitely.
And they will model after what you do. So I think if a child sees that their parents are always shopping, oh, I need something, I'm just going to buy it, then that's what they see, and they don't make the connection between finances and what you have to do to they don't even know how to manage money, which is a whole nother topic. But then it's also not respecting what you have. It's not being grateful for what you currently have. It's not deciphering between a want and a need. It's not. So I think parents have a real opportunity to say, hey, you know, is what this item, what it's going to provide for us, the value that it's going to have if we purchase it, is that worth our resources? And what is the impact of purchasing this, of supporting this organization? I mean, those are huge concepts that people don't think of when they go online and type in their credit card number.
All right, you're listening to Brittany Larrabee. We're talking about conscious woman, conscious worlds, and we will be back for our final segment right after the break.